Hey, what's up everybody, Nexel here. Today we are playing Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, and we're going to be talking about the new Kingdom Hearts 3 Aerith banner that just dropped in Global yesterday. So we're going to do this the same way we always do, where we talk about the banner first, then we'll talk about the medals, the draw odds, and then finally our thoughts on whether or not I think you should be pulling from this banner. So first things first, it looks like we're back to the Remind format where it's 66% off the banner, meaning that it's only 1,000 jewels per pull as opposed to the standard 3,000 jewels. This is pretty sweet because you get pretty much the same amount of medals for 1/3 the cost. However, with that being said, there are other things to consider before you start going ham and start pulling. The next thing is that for this banner, every single time you pull, you get one Kingdom Hearts 3 medal. This is a little different than before because we used to get 2 Kingdom Hearts 3 medals per pull, so they dropped it down to 1, and then they actually put it here with the general medal. So now you get 8 general medals as opposed to the previous 7 general medals. Now I actually don't like this move because of how it affects draw points. So Kingdom Hearts 3 medals are inherently tier 7 or higher, as opposed to the general medals, which are tier 2 or higher. Now this matters because aside from like the featured medal or any good supernovas you come across or the trait medal, you're selling more or less everything else that you get from the pull in order to get draw points. And for draw points, you get, whenever you sell a medal, you get points equal to the tier of that medal. The fact that they took away a medal that is at the very least a tier 7 medal and put it in a pool where the lowest tier is a tier 2, that's essentially on average a lot more draw points that you are missing in comparison to a standard banner that has the 2 Kingdom Hearts 3 medals per pull and then the 7 general medals per pull. So just a small thing to note, but I really just don't like the change. The next thing is that every single pull you do is going to give you 1 Kingdom Hearts 3 Aerith trait. Now this is good because it prevents you from needing to spend VIP coins on the avatar board to get traits. It prevents you from needing to go to the Moogle shop and spending actual jewels to get traits for the medal. So it's pretty sweet that they get at least 1 trait medal per pull. I did like the banner format where you got 2, but I could see 2 being a little bit excessive. So it's pretty sweet that at the very least you're getting 1 here. Every single time you pull, you are also getting 10 VIP coins, and remember, those VIP coins can go to any avatar board that is available until the end of the month. So for example, let's just say I got perfect traits on Kingdom Hearts 3 Aerith with the trait medals I got just from pulling. If I go to the avatar boards, you can see essentially all the medals that have trait boards associated with them. So let's say I had a perfect Kingdom Hearts 3 Aerith, didn't want to do any more traits, I could spend the trait medals on something else that I have that doesn't have perfect traits. So for example, let's just say I pulled a rabbit and it has no traits on it. I could use the VIP coins from the Aerith banner to give my rabbit traits, which is pretty sweet stuff. I really like that, especially since it's only 1,000 jewels per pull as opposed to the standard 3,000. You get the same amount of VIP coins for less jewels, and I think that's actually pretty sweet. The next thing for the banner is that you get 2 magic gems. Now this is not nearly as good as the previous Remind banners, because remember for the Rage Form Sora banner, you could get a Sun Gem. You did get a Sun Gem with every single pull. For the Kingdom Hearts 3 Xion banner, you got a Moon Gem with every single pull. Now those were really important because Sun and Moon Gems, prior to that, were non-spammable. There was a finite number that you could have based on the events that you're able to complete. So the really, really hard events usually had Sun and Moon Gems attached to it. The Chasm of Challenges has Sun and Moon Gems attached to it. So really, it's all the really hard quests that have Sun and Moon Gems attached to them. Whereas in this Kingdom Hearts 3 Aerith banner, you're getting 2 magic gems, which isn't nearly as impressive, especially since every month they host an event where you can farm for magic gems, where you literally just have to put on as much item drop perk as possible, and then you can farm from the event. So the fact that you could not farm the Sun and Moon Gems just makes it a lot better than this banner here, where you get essentially farmable moon gems. So it's not bad to have gems. I just think they should have brought back the Sun or the Moon Gem. I thought that was actually a lot better of a deal. That's just my opinion though. If you really need magic gems, I'm sure this is a sweet deal for you. Lastly, for this banner, you get a Stopper medal in 3 pulls. So on that 3rd pull, you're going to get one of the Stopper medals, which is essentially almost every single supernova that's ever existed in this game, with the exception of Kingdom Hearts 3 Xion A. I don't know why she's not in this pool, so let's actually take a look real quick here. So again, these are the stoppers, which happens on the 3rd pull, every 3rd pull. So looking at the list here, you can get lots of cool stuff. You can get Dissidia Sephiroth, you can get Kingdom Hearts 3 Elsa, you can get the Rock Troll, you can get the Marionettes, you can get Kingdom Hearts 3 Terra, the Supernova Plus Plus version, you can get Kingdom Hearts 3 Yensid, Rageform Sora, Kingdom Hearts 3 Xion, the Kingdom Hearts 3 Lee/Axel. You can get essentially any of the newest medals from this banner as the stopper medal, with that exception of Kingdom Hearts 3 Xion A. I just don't know why they never brought her back. Maybe it's because the black cloak was just too menacing. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. But it's pretty cool that you get a stopper medal in 3 pulls just because you spend 3,000 jewels to get one of those stopper medals, which actually, after doing the math, has a 45% chance of being a tier 10. That's pretty high. That's essentially like almost every third pull. It's like a 50% chance. It's like a coin flip if you're going to get a tier 10. So that's actually pretty good in my opinion. However, keep in mind though that even though it's super cheap to get one of those stopper medals, that stopper medal does not come with traits, and it becomes very difficult to justify getting a medal that you cannot get traits for, especially if you want to use it as a very strong medal. So for example, let's just say you got Kingdom Hearts Dissidia Sephiroth as your stopper medal. It's not going to have any traits unless you buy them from the Moogle shop, which, if you're free to play, can become very, very expensive very, very quickly. So for traits here, unless you're VIP and you can get the traits for 1,000 each, if you're free to play, spending 5,000 jewels to get one trait is really, really hefty because you're already spending jewels from pulling from the banner. So the fact that you end up with a stopper medal that has no traits is not as great as it could be. You could still use them as buffers, but they just lose a lot of damage capability when you can't give them things like ground enemy defense minus 60%, aerial enemy defense minus 60%. It even loses some utility if you can't get extra attack on those medals. So the fact that it comes traitless is not that great, especially since there aren't always means of getting trait medals from VIP boards or getting them from the Moogle shop. So just something to keep in mind, that if you do get a stopper medal, you're going to have to find some way to get traits for it, or you're going to have to live with the idea that it is traitless. So that's a pretty iffy thing, in my opinion. So that's the banner in a nutshell. I think this banner format is worse than the previous Remind banners. I think the fact that you don't get a Sun Gem or a Moon Gem as spammable in comparison to the other two is not as good. The fact that they took away one of those Kingdom Hearts 3 medals, not as good. Really, the best thing about this is that it's 1,000 jewels, and the stopper medals can include pretty much almost every supernova under the sun, including the most recent ones. However, with that being said, keep note that the Kingdom Hearts 3 medal pool and then the 8 5-star or higher medals pool, those don't have any of the most recent supernovas. In terms of supernovas, they only go as far as Kingdom Hearts 3 Roxas, and that means there's still a lot of medals missing from that pool. We are still missing Kingdom Hearts 3 Kyrie B from there. Dark Riku is no longer in there. Kingdom Hearts 3 Aqua is not in there. So those medals, which are sort of outdated at this point because they're tier 9s, we have medals nowadays that increase base strength by 2,500. Those did like 1,000. So they're out of date. I don't know why they just don't put them into the pool. I don't know. Not 100% sure. But I find it weird that it hasn't been updated. So in terms of the banner, it's not looking too hot right now. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the actual medal. So looking at the actual medal, first of all, it looks super cool, and it's kind of funny how they coordinated it in a way where it came out the day right before the Final Fantasy VII Remake Demo. So pretty cool medal. Let's take a look at the effect. So it's an upright magic medal with a maximum strength of 4,520. It hits all targets, deals 6 hits. For 1 turn, increases medal strength by 2,500, which again is the highest amount that we have for the time being in terms of special attacks. It increases self-buffing, so general strength by 15, upright strength by 15, and power speed and magic strength by 15. And then it also has kind of a unique buffing capacity for defense, giving you +5 general defense and +5 PSM defense, which you just don't see very often. In terms of debuffing, gives all enemies -15 general defense, -15 upright defense, and -15 PSM defense. So really a perfect buffer for upright setups like the Counterpoint, or the Fenrir, or the Sleeping Lion. So pretty sweet stuff in terms of the buffing, and then has that little splash of defensive buffing in there too. Casting the special attack will give you special attack bonus plus 200% for the turn. Not super relevant since we have supernova attacks that give you plus 300 for the turn. It increases count plus 1, which is pretty decent because at the very least it's not dropping the counter, making it a little bit easier to use medals that come afterwards. HP max, so restores the HP all the way to full. Restores 3 gauges per cast, pretty decent just because again it costs 0 gauges to cast it. You're instantly getting 3 gauges there. And then cures status ailments, so this can get rid of like poison, venom, paralysis. So that's pretty good. Standard stuff for a buffer. It's tier 10. Its damage multiplier, I believe, is 18.65, which is roughly about where a lot of the newer medals are anyways. And then its supernova attack is mastery, meaning that it does slightly more damage to power enemies. And then for one turn gives you one turn gives you metal strength plus 5,000, so it gives all medals after it plus 5,000 strength. Special attack bonus plus 300, again, like what we were saying earlier, that a lot of supernova attacks give special attack bonus plus 300, so that plus 200 from the special attack is not particularly special. It gives count plus 5 and gauge plus 5, so it's got some restorative ability in the supernova attack, and then it triggers before slot 2 is activated when defending in PvP. So the main thing that everyone talks about when they talk about this medal is that it's a buffer medal, and then whenever you have a buffer medal, you got to compare it to the most recent, the best buffer medal that's out right now. So I prepared just a little bit, like a small table right here, comparing essentially Kingdom Hearts 3 Aerith to the best buffer in the game right now, which is Kingdom Hearts 3 Nominee. So first thing is that the max strength for Aerith is higher, but the multiplier for Nominee is higher, so the math sort of just evens out at that point. For the metal strength increase, Aerith gives plus 2,500 in comparison to Nominee's 2,000. So Aerith gives just a little bit more, giving 500 more without extra attack, and then 1,000 more with extra attack in comparison to the Nominee. Again, strength plus 1,000, I've said it in previous videos, it's not really a game changer. It's not gonna be a huge difference between you clearing missions and you not clearing missions. So kind of an iffy point that sort of favors Aerith. In terms of the strength buff, the big thing to note is that Nominee gives reverse buffs, whereas Aerith does not. So that's actually a huge reason to not think that Aerith is better than Nominee. Nominee is still superior when it comes to general buffing, because giving that reverse means that the Nominee can fit almost anywhere. It can fit on the Dark Gnaw, it can fit on the Counterpoint, all the other reverse Keyblade setups. Nominee fits well in there, whereas Aerith does not, because Aerith just doesn't give reverse buffs. So Aerith does not work nearly as well in, let's just say, Diamond Dust in comparison to the Nominee, because the Nominee will give the reverse buffs. In comparison, when we're comparing the defense buffs, Aerith has defense buffs, whereas Nominee does not. Now, I don't really see this as being a huge plus, because when we look at the medals that are out right now, we have things like Kingdom Hearts 3 Ienzo. So let's go ahead and go over here, and let's look at medals that increase our defense and PSM defense. Unfortunately, Ienzo only does magic defense, but look at that there. Plus 15 defense, it's overwrite even, so if your defense is under 0, essentially if you have negative defensive buff, then this is going to bring it back up to 15 just instantly because it's overwrite. And it also has magic defense 15, again overwrite, so you're guaranteeing yourself 15 general defense and 15 magic defense. When we look at the Aerith, it only gives you plus 5 general defense and plus 5 PSM defense, which isn't that great. Even with extra attack, that only brings you up to 10 general defense in comparison to Ienzo's 15 overwrite. So essentially, you'd have to have some mix of Aerith, an extra attack trait, and a copy medal in order to get up to that 15 general defense and 15 power speed magic defense, which I feel like is just like a lot of effort to justify this medal being good for defensive reasons. Also, we haven't had a quest that gives rewards in a long time where the condition was only complete without having to continue. Those are the quests where turtling or building up a defensive strategy is much more important because you can take an infinite amount of turns as long as you defeat the enemy. However, we haven't seen those objectives in a long time. Mainly, we're seeing complete within 3 turns. We're seeing complete within 1 turn. Complete with only 1 or fewer medals. Things like that. We don't really see the triple complete without having to continue, and we haven't seen it in a long time. So unfortunately, defensive buffs are just not as popular right now. In terms of enemy debuffs, again, Naminé is winning here, being able to decrease enemies' reverse defense, and then when we're comparing the count, Aerith only gives +1 in comparison to Naminé's +2. I still like Naminé's a lot better because, again, if you're using a reverse setup, you want to increase that count as much as possible because a lot of the reverse medals decrease count. So Aerith, again, not working in reverse setups as well as Naminé does. In terms of gauge restoration, again, Naminé wins, being able to restore 5 gauges per cast in comparison to Aerith's 3 gauges per cast. So realistically, when we look at these medals, the only real ways that Aerith wins in comparison to Naminé is with the defensive buffs and then the medal strength increase, which is not enough for me to say that Aerith is better than Naminé. So looking at this chart, I just think Naminé is still better. I still think Naminé is the far superior buffer in comparison to Aerith. So whenever we look at a new medal, we always have to ask ourselves, does it replace what is currently the best thing? And in this sense, no, Aerith does not replace Naminé as the best buffer in the game. So really unimpressive banner, a medal that does not replace the current standard. We're already at a bad spot when we're talking about this banner here. Now, to only make the banner actually sound worse, let's take a look at the draw odds. So again, this is a non-mercy banner. You could pull a million times from this banner and potentially not get Aerith. So I already did this once for the Xion, but I redid all the math to apply it to the Aerith, and here's what we got. So essentially, what you should be paying attention to is the blue column there, which is the chance of you actually getting the medal based on how many pulls you've done, which is in the left-hand column there. So the reason that, let me grab my charger real quick before my phone dies here. But what I'm getting at here is that for 15 pulls, which is 15,000 jewels on the Aerith banner, which is also a 5-pull mercy from a standard 3,000 jewels banner, you only get a 25.4% chance of actually hitting the Aerith. Let's just say you even did 51 pulls. That's only a 63.08% chance of getting the Aerith. Let's say you did 99 pulls. It's still only 85.55% chance of you getting the Aerith. And that's crazy. The fact that you could spend 99,000 jewels and potentially miss on the Aerith is just almost unstomachable. Like, it's really, really hard to think that you could do 99 pulls and still not get the medal just because it's non-mercy. So the fact that the medal is also non-mercy, the fact that the banner's not so great, the fact that the medal does not currently replace the best buffer in the game right now when the medal is a buffer, just makes it seem really bad overall. Like, it makes it seem like they wanted to re-trap. They wanted to re-trap players into thinking, oh, the banner's cheap, let's do some pulls. Which, granted, got me with the Rage Form Sora, but the fact that, you know, the magic gems are spammable or farmable now, the fact that the Aerith isn't as great as the Naminé, the fact that it's just not good. It's just not as good as it should be. The banner, the medal, the stats, like, it just doesn't favor you pulling from this banner. So that's really the long and short of how I feel about this banner. I honestly think that in order for this Aerith to be relevant, they have to make quests specifically where you would need the Aerith over the Naminé. So let's say, for example, and it'd be some crazy stuff. It would have to be very, very specific criteria. Like, the objectives would have to be use 1 or fewer medals, and then the enemy has, like, power reflect. So you can't just bring the Naminé and win. You could bring, like, the Aerith and win because it's upright magic as opposed to Naminé's power. But that's like a very specific event where you'd have to have the objective line up, the enemy has to line up, and it's like, at that point, they're forcing you to use Kingdom Hearts 3 Aerith. So they have to invent specific quests to make Aerith more worth it than just bringing in a Naminé. Even though there are power reflect enemies out there, you can still change the attribute of Naminé using something like a Blitz Form Sora or using a Kingdom Hearts 3 Elsa to convert that Naminé into either a speed or a magic medal, respectively, with the Blitz Form and the Elsa. So there are ways of getting around the fact that Naminé is power and Aerith is magic. Let's see. Let me just make sure I went through everything here. So yeah, I'm reading through my notes, and really, there's not a lot of working for this medal. Even defensively, this medal is still standalone. Even with extra attack, you're still missing 5 general defense and then 5 PSM defense. So, like I said for the Kingdom Hearts 3 Xion banner, if you pull from this banner, you are not pulling to get Aerith. You are pulling because it's a great deal. You get 10 medals. Granted, one of them's a trait medal. You get 10 medals for 1,000 jewels in comparison to 3,000 jewels. You're getting a stopper medal, which has a 45% chance of being a tier 10 every 3 pulls. So it's a good banner, but I just don't think that Aerith is worth chasing. And honestly, I would just save my jewels because, again, Anniversary is right around the corner. We're pretty much a month away at this point. And especially if you're free to play, you don't get too many free jewels. So you want to save those up for when Anniversary rolls around in about a month. So that's my take on this banner, whether or not I think you should pull for it. Again, the fact that they changed the number of Kingdom Hearts 3 medals you get in the banner is kind of bad. The fact that the Aerith medal doesn't replace Nominee is kind of bad. The fact that you're getting magic gems as opposed to Sun and Moon gems in the pulls is kind of bad. So, again, the saving grace for this medal is the fact that it's cheap and the fact that the 3rd pull can have the potential to be something like an Elsa or the new Supernova Plus Kingdom Hearts 3 Lee/Axel. That's really the saving grace for this banner, because everything else about it, honestly, can't really get behind in my personal opinion. So with that being said, that's the end of this video. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave them down in the comments below, and I'd be happy to answer when I have the time. If you'd like to join my Discord, the link is right down there. I'm usually more available in there to give some off-hours help in case you wanted some there, as well as the rest of the Twilight Knights who have helped me in assisting newer players. They have helped me in that Discord, so if you want to join, feel free to join there. But with that being said, that's the end of this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, until next time, take it easy.